Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Nosferatu, your friendly neighborhood Mexican film critic. So today what I'm going to do, since I can finally get it out of my brain, but I was going to do my Marvel Phase 3 ranking today, but I'm just going to put that off for another week, because I have watched the original 97 Odyssey as well. I've also seen Christopher Nolan's movie twice.
Stupid fanboy.
So today we are going to compare the two and see which one's better. And like I said, these are completely subjective, and it's really just a lot of opinion and matter of taste as well. So without further ado, which Odyssey movie was better?
Let's do this. Let's do this.
So, comparing the Odyssey. I'm not going to cover every Odyssey because there's a fuck ton, including even Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But this is mainly a comparison between the 1997 TV movie that came out with Nolans Odyssey and Christopher Nolan's 2026 imagining of it. And I do have my list. I got pros, cons, like we do here, because got to give a little bit of both either way, you know what I'm saying? So we will start with the old one, which is, I'm going to call it the Homer fan adaptation. And so the Odyssey in 1997 came out on TV, so it is a straight-to-TV movie. I will say it's actually more violent than the new. It's got way more blood and stuff in it as well, so it's kind of odd that the Nolan one is rated R, because there's not too much rated R-ness in there, if that makes sense. There's no nudity. They say the F word like 3 times. Not too much blood, even though it does have some very graphic scenes. I still don't know why it was needed to be rated R in the first place, but regardless, with the old 90s one, a lot of the pros for it is it does feel more like the mythology, and it's not afraid to get weird and campy with it. It has, like the gods in there. It has, it follows the book a lot more in a linear progression. So it still is 3 hours long, so we still do get Odysseus' journey from leaving Ithaca and, going to do his thing, gets trapped, you get the suitors, you got everything. But it deals a lot more with the stuff from the book, especially with the gods. You get the bag of wind scene when... Because everything is better with a bag of wind! I forgot his name. Homie gives him a bag of wind and tells him not to open it until they reach Ithaca. And so they're see Ithaca finally after being away for 10 years, but Odysseus' men thinks he's hiding gold in there, so what did their dumbass do? Oh, I'm gonna open this bag. Boom! Just launches them way back, completely resetting their journey because they were greedy and a bunch of buttholes.
That's not very nice.
So, yes, it does lean more into the gods and monsters and the magic, and it makes them exactly that. Gods, myth, monsters, and magic. There's no trying to church it up. It's just what it is. It's fairy tale, it's mythology, and it feels fantastical.
Fictional characters.
So it does feel very much like a fairy tale. I also will say one of my personal pros for it is I think Armand Assadi's Odysseus is better than Matt Damon's Odysseus. And I'm not saying Matt Damon did a bad job. His is just so much more like heroic and stoic, and like he's just a badass in an action film, when Armand Assadi's version he's still, a hero, but he's kind of, you see him handle it a lot more and be a bit more of he literally challenges the gods.
Do you see, you gods of sea and sky? I come to Troy, me, Odysseus, a mortal man of flesh and blood and bone and mind. I can leave you now. I can do anything.
I guess I think he just had a better journey as Odysseus. Just seeing it play out more in the dialogue and how he portrays himself, instead of just Matt Damon being moody Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Which is fine for the Nolan movie. So I do say the 97 one does have a lot of positives, especially being more faithful to the book. It has the whole Cyclops scene where they get him drunk and, stabs him in the eye, tell him his name's Nobody, and nobody stole my eye. So like I said, it deals with a lot of that. You got Hermes and stuff, flying around in his little boots and little panties he's wearing or whatever. So Very fantastical, a little silly, and that's where we'll kind of get into some of the cons for it, because they were very limited on the production. For a TV movie back in the 90s, it's still a huge production. They did a lot of stuff that's like still somewhat impressive, but it does feel a bit cheesy. Like I said, it's kind of a little all over the place at times. You know, some of the acting and stuff still like it feels like the 90s, which is nothing wrong with that. I actually really did enjoy my watch of it. I will say it's not as much there's not as much psychological depth within the character, since a lot of it is, like I said, he's very boisterous and vocal about things that are happening. It is also very exposition heavy, but I mean, name one movie that doesn't have exposition. Like, it's kind of impossible to do, so I think that kind of leaned on it a bit more. And I will say it does feel more like the fairy tale, full of the mythology. Even with all that and it being a fun watch and a ride, it still feels like a TV movie trying to be grander than they were allowed. So being a production of its time definitely hurts it, but not in a bad way either. There's a charm to it that you don't get with modern day films. And now for my kind of pros and cons list over Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey 2026. And one thing I have seen people complain about as well, since everyone's now calling for historically accurate portrayals of these characters, and people are like gatekeeping these characters that they probably couldn't have named 5 characters until the Christopher Nolan shit came out. Don't act like you have posters of the Odyssey on your wall and you got a tattoo of freaking Thaddeus or whatever his name is. You don't.
I have a tattoo.
Stop trying to virtue signal shit that you want to be important about. You're making the wrong complaints at the wrong people because you have nothing better going on in your life. But regardless, people are complaining. I already did my review. I'll put a link for it at the end of the video. So anyway, let's get back to the pros and cons of the new Odyssey versus the old one. And I had to write this down because what I got from Google and stuff that was kind of being said was, it's not how do we do this faithfully, but what does the Odyssey mean if Nolan tells it? And it described it as impressionistic remix of Homer with more emphasis on the human being behind the myth. It's kind of a whole lot of words, some like $7 words and stuff in there, but in a way I do kind of understand because it feels more grounded. Because it's not really dealing with the gods. The gods are more implied. The magic there is still there, but it's more implied. It's not some fairy tale, wizards and shit going on. It feels more real for a myth, which is kind of awesome. And it's not just like hero fights monster. It's what kind of a man survives this and lives with it. And that's what Nolan's kind of doing with his take of the Odyssey. I said there are completely 2 different takes of this movie. One is more faithful and, like I said, has a certain charm. This is a modern film. We're in 2026. We're not gonna go back and make this kind of crap then. We're gonna make this shit here and make it look incredible, because it fucking is.
Very impressive.
Actually, kind of the non-linear storytelling that Christopher Nolan does is more faithful to the actual poem, since that poem starts with Homer or Odysseus at the end regaling all of his past traumas and flashbacks and stuff. So that actually does tie into the book a lot as well. And we know Christopher Nolan loves playing with time and back and forth. I mean, fuck Tenet, Interstellar. Don't even talk about the Tesseract talking through your daughter through a watch. Insane. And another thing about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey as compared to the 97 version is it feels gigantic. The scale is so impressive, it feels larger than life. Nolan filmed this movie to feel like we imagine how big it would be. Yeah, it's not white people speaking in British accents, because then everyone would give it a pass. No, they have to nitpick now because there's nothing to complain about, really. It's just so grand. And I will say there, even in some of the grand scale of things, like when they're actually taking down Troy Troy feels small. You see like a gate, a couple buildings, tower falls, but it doesn't feel like they're attacking an entire city. It feels more like they're kind of attacking a set of a city. And like I said, that's not even a bad, like, you don't really notice it too much. On my second rewatch, I kind of noticed it a little more. And also just the emotional weight of Odysseus coming home finally with his kid. Both do kind of take different takes. The Nolan one, they're just waiting with bated breath. They're just can't wait to get him, and when he gets home, they're like, we love you, we're so glad you're back. The 97 version kind of takes it, they're more apprehensive, and like, you're not my father, you're not my husband, what are you even doing here, how am I gonna believe you?
I don't even know who you are.
So I think that is actually kind of a decent take on it, as well as not just like waiting for dad to come back with a pack of cigarettes, you know? Because I know Tom Holland's version is just always looking for his dad out the door. Every time you hear a car, you're going, boop, peek through it, hope daddy come home. Someone give Tom Holland a father figure, man, jeez. But yeah, it does have a different take of how the family dynamics kind of work, but I also feel it's kind of plays out a little bit like Lord of the Rings in the ending when they decide to sell off on their own and let the son take over. And but just kind of the fact that they weren't as apprehensive about their father/husband being gone so long, I think that's actually a point towards the 97 version. And like I said, this still does have some cons, even though I will glaze this movie forever because I think it's incredible.
That's a great movie.
It still doesn't feel as magical as Homer's original Odyssey. It doesn't feel as magical as the 97 version, which had fun playing with all those concepts. You see someone come down and holding up by little wires wearing gold underpants and some little flip-flops, and like there's a charm to that, man. It just makes you laugh and you kind of appreciate it. And yes, well, I guess the casting, which I think is bad takes. Christopher Nolan casts good people in his movies because he knows what you're fucking capable of. If you are on a Christopher Nolan movie, he recognizes you as being top of your craft. He's not just gonna put in some stupid person in there. Even then, once again, all the casting people complaining about Black Helena Troy, Elliot Page, A$AP Rocky, they're barely in the fucking movie, man.
You're just plain wrong.
And Elliot Page does great. They actually do great. They only have 2 or 3 scenes, but it doesn't harm the movie at all. Please go hate watch it. Please go hate watch it, and then try and pick it apart, because then you're just gonna be mad at everything. I don't like his hat. Well, those sandals don't look good. You ain't strong enough. So people love to complain.
I'm mad.
And with the modern dialogue as well. But like I said, I mentioned this in my last Odyssey video. I think it is a good middle of the road for everybody to be able to latch on and get invested in the film. Some people actually do get turned off from accents and stuff, so you don't really get that. It does take a bit to adjust to the American dialect, but it doesn't harm the movie at all. I think it was actually a pretty good choice to go through with that and just have it a level playing field for all audience members. And another con, which I would have liked to see more, is the gods that aren't. They're more implied there. There's a moment when he invites a beggar in, and then the suitors are like, oh, get out of here. And like, no, it's the law of Zeus. We must treat every person that comes in our town as if they were a god in disguise, because they could be a god in disguise. And then as he's like, oh, so you're a god? You just hear thunder. Boom! And like, yeah. It's like, okay, well, all right, fine, go in, whatever. Like I said, but Nolan's is a more grounded version of a mythical tale, and he had to adjust to modern filmmaking as well, especially with Nolan. It's just Nolan, man. He has his vision, and he's going through with his vision, whether you like it or not. And it grossed $1 billion, already reached $1 billion. Complain about that. You can't complain about success, man. That is suffering from success. And I'll stick by it because the movie's awesome. 97 version is awesome as well. And I did kind of put some rankings here for, and we're actually tied. So most faithful to Homer's The Odyssey, going with the 97 version, because it feels more of a faithful adaptation. Best filmmaking, definitely going with Nolan version. It's just a better film. It looks brilliant. The techniques they use for everything, it doesn't feel cheesy at all. For the mythology side of Homer's epic, of course we're going with the 97 version because it feels fantastical. They're having fun with it. There's people in leotards and stuff. It's great. Fun watch. Now for characters, kind of split on this a bit. I might lean more towards Nolan just because everything's more like psychological a bit. You do see the turmoil within themselves, kind of just trying to deal with what they've done and how life's played out for them. The 97 version does it well too, and like I said, I actually do kind of like how his son and Penelope, the wife, are kind of more standoffish and not just like, hooray, you're back, great. And so that's going to go for Nolan. Full comparisons to the poem, we are going to go with the 97 version because, I mean, come on, it's like word for word, has a lot more shit in there. As for spectacle and just scale, definitely going with Nolan because it's impressive. It's so impressive, and I can't stop talking about it.
Yeah, we know.
Like, it's just a good movie, man. I love movies. I love movies that just feel epic, and they're intense, and they're awesome, and they're incredible. Even the old one, it feels epic. It's awesome. It's incredible. But it still looks like a 97 straight-to-TV movie.
And your point is?
But I still do highly recommend it. It's actually on Amazon Prime as well. And I do have my last little kind of wrap-up notes here. So for my summary, although Nolan's film is a true masterpiece of cinematic filmmaking, it does take liberties to the source material. While the 97 adaptation is more straightforward and more faithful to the mythology of the epic, it does suffer from its time being a straight-to-TV film. Which is better? Who's to say? Seems more of a matter of taste. But with so much negativity out there today, why can't we just enjoy all versions of one of the greatest stories ever told?
Well spoken, sir.
And exactly. If you like the Odyssey, because, I mean, it's the oldest, greatest story ever told, even stripped down back to the poem, like 20-year trip of someone trying to get home to their wife and kid, dealing with all the bullshit they've caused along the way. Like, it's, and then when they always end up there, it's triumph, I say. Brilliant! So I really don't think there is a winner. I personally will go with Nolan's because, like I said, I think it looks better, it plays out better, and it's just impressive. 97 version, I'm actually going to watch it again because it's just a fun movie. And like I said, it has this campiness and this sort of love to it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it leans into the mythology as Nolan's kind of strips that back, and we get a more human story of dealing with all of this crap. Both still incredible movies. So if you have stuck here all the way, I do appreciate it. I love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to see my original thoughts and first review of the Odyssey, I'm going to put it on screen right here. I actually just figured out how to do these. So I'm going to start ending my videos a little different since I can actually put some, links to my other stuff. Kind of, get people to check stuff they may have missed. But regardless, thank you for everything. I love you guys. Peace out. Love you. And you guys have a blessed night.